Welcome to You, Me, Empathy, a safe place for leading with your heart. Hey, thanks for being here. You, Me, Empathy is the official podcast of the Feely Human Collective, a collaborative mental health community designed to empower each of us to grow our capacity for empathy, vulnerability, and emotional wayfinding. Just a friendly reminder that this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. No one is just a silly boy with a feely heart. You can support the show by leaving a review in Apple Podcasts, following us on social media at Yumi Empathy and Feely Human, and joining the Feely Human Collective community at feelyhuman.co. And now your host, Known Wells.
Hello, Feely Humans. Welcome to another episode of You, Me, Empathy. My name is Known Wells, and this is episode 192 on sensitive kids, reparenting our inner child, and living fully in the messy with Beebe. Beebe is a musician. She's a Feely Human like you and I loved this conversation. We chat about the allure of being right, the gaslighting of sensitive kiddos, as I mentioned, reparenting our inner child, living more fully in the messy, gray, curious, soft, weird, uncomfortable spaces in our lives, and Beebe's beautiful new solo album titled Beebe, B-E-E-B-E. That's Beebe's name, and I've listened to the whole album, and it's wonderful. It's life-affirming. It makes you happy. It's beautiful. Beebe is a Feely Human. She sings her feelings, as she says, and it's wonderful. It's out September 17th, her solo album, and you can listen to a few tracks right now, which is great. Go to beebemusic.com. That's B-E-E-B-E music.com. Check it out. And I've actually included her song Paper Cuts in this episode. If you, at the end of this intro, you'll hear the whole track Paper Cuts from her new solo album. So look forward to that. And I hope you enjoy the episode. But before we get to it, I just wanted to remind you of a couple of very exciting things coming up this month, which is the first is September 25th up in LA in Griffith Park area. If you're a Los Angeles-based or even Orange County-based Feely Human, I would love to see you. We're doing Feely Hikes again. This is Feely Hikes number 2. We're doing it in Los Angeles in Griffith Park area, September 25th at 8 a.m.-ish. So I would love to see you. No one has mentioned that they're going yet, but I'll be there. So hopefully you can too. Again, that's September 25th. If you're interested, just email me, feelyhuman@gmail.com, or just DM me on Instagram @feelyhuman and let me know that you'd like to go. Feely Hikes is a way to move your body and your heart. The other thing I wanted to mention is September 28th, the next Illustrating Empathy workshop. So I've done this workshop before for Feely Human. I love it. It's wonderful. It's one of our foundational workshops I do. It's all about empathy for self and for others. And there's some fun artwork and illustration homework involved as well. You don't have to be an artist, though. It's very feely and fun. And if you want to be feely and vulnerable with me for 90 minutes, I highly encourage you check that out. Go to feelyhuman.co and go to the workshops tab, click on Illustrating Empathy. Check that out. That is September 28th at 4 p.m. Pacific time. And there are limited seats, so please sign up. It's only $10. Would love to see you there. Again, all this stuff is at feelyhuman.co. And the last thing I'll say is please leave a rating and review for Yumi Empathy in Apple Podcasts. We've been stuck in 146 for, like a year. We can do better. Let's do better together. And that's it. Please enjoy my chat with Beebe on sensitive kids, reparenting our inner child, and living fully in the messy, and enjoy her track Paper Cuts right now.
It only only takes a slice. Ooh. I'm covered all over in paper cuts from my whole life. Despite your surprise, I taught myself to fly. For every percent you gave, I've given twice, and I don't get the right. Exhausted from these paper cuts, but I won't give up. Try to keep my head above waves that pull me down slowly as I bleed out. Slowly as I bleed out. Words hurled from a moving car. I feel my body tense. None of this is for you. You don't get. It's not a compliment. You tell me not to generalize, but you use it as a defense. You say that's just us being guys. Can't you see the resemblance? Exhausted from these paper cuts, but I won't give up. Try to keep my head above waves that pull me down slowly as I bleed out. Slowly as I bleed out. What's it gonna take to make a change? We need each other, we deserve the same. Exhausted from these paper cuts, but I won't give up. Try to keep my head above waves that pull me down slowly as I bleed out. Exhausted from these paper cuts, but I won't give up. Try to keep my head above waves that pull me down slowly as I bleed out. Slowly as I bleed out. Slowly as I bleed out.
Welcome to You, Me, Empathy, the official podcast of the Feely Human Collective. On this show, we explore the struggles, the triumphs, the brights and the darks we face as humans trying to get by on this wondrous and overwhelming pale blue dot. The intent of You, Me, Empathy is to talk openly, without judgment, about our mental health, our neuroses, our shared anxieties and worries, to create a dialogue that is vulnerable and deeply human and empathetic, and to share that dialogue with others to inspire emotional and cognitive collaboration and insight so we can, hand in hand, break down the stigma that make us feel shame and guilt for struggling, for feeling our feelings, for being feely humans. Yumi Empathy is a safe, friendly space designed to inspire the beauty in each of us. Today, I'm feeling the urge to sing my feelings because I'm here with feely singer and musician whose debut album, Beebe, is out September 17th. It's Beebe. Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great. It's so good to be chatting with you.
Likewise. The past week I've been listening to your album that is yet to be out in the world, and it's so lovely. It just makes me happy. It's that first song just puts you in the mood. It's really great. I love it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So, Beebe, I like to start the show with an emotional check-in. How are you feeling?
Today I'm feeling calm, which is an unusual feeling for me,
Okay.
which is lovely to be in.
Yeah.
And I think accepting of, which sometimes it's hard for us sort of overperforming type A sensitive folks.
Yes.
So yeah, that's where I'm at. Where are you at? What's your check-in?
I'm feeling better than I did yesterday. It's been a rough sleeping week for me, like just not sleeping great. And I feel like I'm dreading the next sort of half of my life to be like, well, this is the sort of latter half of your life here on this planet that you're just sleep's just going to get worse. I feel like I'm not looking forward to that. But I slept okay last night. So I'm feeling a bit better about that. How are you with
sleep? If I don't
sleep?
get enough sleep, oh my God, if I don't get enough sleep, I'm just a monster. I'm a monster. If I don't eat the right things for my body, and if I don't sleep enough, I'm a monster. Like I am not. Have you ever seen the movie High Fidelity?
Of
like
course.
with John Cusack.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
top 5 for me.
Mhm.
So in that movie, and I use this quote all the time, he talks about how his partner is like the kind of person who doesn't take it out on anybody else when they're having a bad day. I'm like, I am not that person. If I like haven't slept, everyone, you are my enemy. It's your fault that I didn't sleep. It's just the worst. So I have actually really prioritized sleep in my life because I know it affects me so much emotionally. I'm just more likely to be anxious, which is already sort of like a baseline for me.
Yeah.
I'm more likely to be just sort of like situationally depressed, right? Or like having just sort of like a bummer day. I'm incredibly impatient if I haven't slept enough, and that's just not fun for anybody to be around. So I'm like a 9:30 to bed kind of gal if I can make it happen.
Yeah. I like that and I appreciate that. And I think there's a lot of power and truth and beauty in just recognizing hey, I am a monster. If I don't get sleep, like this is what it is. And like I think it's good to like work on that. And it's also good, for partners and such to like understand that like, okay, maybe like I need to allow for a bit of that, right? Because you're not going to sleep well all the time, right?
I am lucky that my husband is as patient with me as he is, and it hasn't been like that the whole time. We got together when I was 23 and he was 26, and probably for the first 7 years that we were together, we fought a lot because I think we were both really stubborn, and we had decided that our way was the correct way to do things. And then as we learned that you can just like let people be who they are and you could sort of go about your business, it made things a lot easier. So now I'm very grateful that we've sort of done that growing together, because he's the kind of person who will be like, do you need to eat something?
I love that.
So kind.
Yeah.
And I'm like, actually, yes, I have a snack in my bag.
I'm reminding Jessica, my wife, all the time to eat. She is, so speaking of sleep, she has night terrors, Beebe.
Oh, no.
So she had a big one last week where she, usually it's like something's crawling on the wall. I have to get up, like maybe turn on the lights to sort of reveal that what she's seeing is not based in reality. Sorry. It doesn't work that way. She's always devastated by that. And I try to be as empathetic as possible, but also I'm half asleep, So like, I think she senses some of my frustration. But last week she straight up, I don't know how she did it. She ran into the ottoman, landed on her knee, like had this golf ball size like welt on her knee, and like her ankle is like super bruised and swollen. It's just, and I tell her like I think she probably has to see a sleep person, a specialist or something, but there's also some anxiety there as well. But also like I think I need to recognize that, speaking of sort of like allowing for a bit of that, she's going to have days where it's going to be harder, right? Like we're going to have days where it's going to be harder as humans. And I think like allowing for some of that is important. Like we can't always be like, well, just do these things and take the meditation and like level up and, all this stuff that we hear, right? Like we just need to allow for a bit more of the messy.
What you just said made me think of how I sort of started going down the like quote unquote self-healing path at a pretty young age. Around college is when I really was like, you know what, I'm going to sort out why my parents' divorce like may have affected me, because everyone keeps telling me that like these anxiety attacks and panic attacks that I had as a teenager because of like my relationship with my family doesn't make any sense to me. So I started sort of looking into it. But I think that as I got older, I really fell into sort of almost like the capitalist trap of like that becoming quote unquote fixing myself instead of what you're talking about. And I think what I now try to remember, which is like, we can be introspective and we can want to like hold parts of ourselves that need a little love and maybe need some healing, but not healing in the sense of like healed means fixed, like when a bone is broken, which I think can be really sticky. And then if you are starting to, let's say, feel better, if we're going to use like qualifiers like that, your condition changes so that maybe you're feeling some relief from painful emotions or experiences, or maybe you're learning how to set boundaries. It's like that never stops, which I'm sure you talk about with people all the time. And so having that space for yourself and having that space for your partner definitely is not perfect and is certainly not there all the time. But I think if we can sort of remember to if we can lead with curiosity for ourselves and our partners as much as we try to with like, maybe you do it better at work. I don't know. For me, it's like I'm overperformer. So I'm always like out here gets the best version of me, and at home is like the troll.
The monster. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really working on that.
I empathize with that. And I think a lot of people can. I think it's connected a little bit to what you said about like when we're younger and we want to be right? There's a lot of, I talk about this a lot. There's a lot of armoring we do, right? And sort of like, I am going to show up in the world protected because maybe unconsciously or consciously, like there's aspects of ourselves that haven't been fully introspected, fully sort of gotten the curiosity treatment because or been vulnerable enough to go there, right? That's scary. And so I'm going to show up in the world with armor. And I think we do that unconsciously a lot as humans. Like lately, I've been thinking a lot about empathy during this time and what does that look like? And it's certainly not agreement. It's certainly not agreeing to disagree. But how can we show up without sort of the context of, and this is the capitalist side of things, of this versus that, the binary stuff? Like, how can we like more fully live in that curious, to use your word, I love curiosity, curious, soft, sort of open-hearted, lean into that discomfort, lean into that mess space. Like, I think that is the space that doesn't solve all the problems, but that's the space we all need to be and sort of find for ourselves individually, collectively. Because otherwise, we're just going to keep shutting down, putting on armor, sort of holding on to these remnants of our identities that stems from trauma and our childhood and all these things that we hold on to. That's a lot, but that's where my head's been at.
Yeah, curiosity and like consideration. So maybe I don't agree with something that you just said, or maybe something that someone says is like activating for me, right? And my old pattern is to be defensive. It was like something I was told I did when I was younger. And now I'm like, well, now I've done a lot of reading and I'm like, well, do you want to know why I'm defensive? And I could turn the tables back around, right? Of like all of these reasons sort of historically and like my upbringing of like why I might be that kind of person. Yeah. And if I can just like pause, and yoga and meditation help with this for me. Yoga really, especially because I am the kind of person who's like 200 miles an hour all the time, and slowing down brings up a lot of emotion for me. So I
Mm.
avoided it for most of my younger life. And I was just like, yes, running, sports, whatever. Um, and doing yoga was like not only physically uncomfortable for me because my muscles were so tight, but I was sort of emotionally wound so tight that when I would do yoga, I would cry like in public. And I was at that
Mm.
time not comfortable with that. So being able to like sit in an uncomfortable reaction to maybe something that someone has said or proposed has allowed me to say, okay, well, can I like consider where they're coming from? And I, as like an artist, and I'm sure most people as just like humans, because we're all creative in our own ways, have imaginations that are wonderful. So like, yes, I can imagine being in
Yep.
this position that you're talking about that I maybe ethically or morally disagree, politically, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
insert your own scenario here. Certainly, I can imagine why you might think or say those things. So if
Yeah.
I can do that, then yeah, then certainly I can have compassion that you're a person and I can see how maybe you've been there. Especially if I have seen myself sort of fly off the handle at someone I care about. It just helps put things in perspective, I guess. That sort of
Absolutely.
curiosity. And if you can just like pause before you decide, that's been my goal. It's like, can you just pause before you decide that this person is either right or dumb or whatever it is that you're about to let your brain take over, which is just like your ego having an old story instead of you, like you said, just like being present with somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's real connection.
I agree. I think that's the muscle I'm trying to train in myself and trying to sort of share on this podcast as often as I can and the workshops that I do. It's really about like how can we shed all, because like we show up even if we're not aware of it. We're showing up and we're already sort of conceiving of how it will go, or we're putting up a guard because this person's a trumper or whatever it may be, right? Like we're
Hmm.
putting up
Hmm.
guard. Like how can we, and yes, of course, like the caveat is safety is very important. And yes, the sort of ongoing embodied sort of act of empathy is also a two-way street. It's not like, it's not just you, it has to be the other person. So it is like it's tricky and messy, but like I'm just frankly fucking tired of jerk reactions to things, and just like I want more pause, like you said. I want more pause, and like let's take a step back, let's think about this, let's employ some critical thinking, and allow ourselves to like sit with something and not sort of exist in this like, oh, I have to respond to this right away. I think that's the capitalist side that you mentioned. Like that's the side of sort of our culture that wants us to kind of like keep moving forward, keep checking those boxes, keep sort of doing this, keep sort of ascribing to the pace of social media, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right? It's all in that.
And if there's a right and a wrong, then isn't it easier to know what to do and what to say and how to be so that you don't ever have to be wrong? If that's part of like this sort of cultural what's not allowed,
Mm.
if it's like we're the right side, we're the good guys, right? If things are kept binary, isn't that just a way for people to feel safe in their armor and not have to worry about like ambiguity, which is
100%.
uncomfortable?
Yeah.
So I understand the lure of being correct. It's probably why I tried to be correct for so long. It was very upsetting to me to like grow into, I guess, an adult, whatever that means, and be like, wait, there isn't like a right way to do life. I'm really upset because I've been doing all of the things that I've been told I'm supposed to do, right? Like
Of course. It's
school
not your
was the
fault.
school and sort of how to be a good worker and all of that stuff. And it's like, I didn't have to do this the whole time. Like there's no right way. You can make up your own right way. I was so
Mhm.
angry. I'm probably still a
Yeah.
little bit angry, but I'm more, It's more grounded now, I guess.
Sure. And you know, there's intersectionality at play too, right? Like I am a white cisgendered man, you're a woman, right? There's some intersectionality on your side of things that certainly make things harder, right? Certainly make things more difficult or sticky or whatever, right? So that's an important piece of all of this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Question for you. When did your parents divorce?
I was around 12 or 13 when they
Okay.
divorced. So, right, sort of in the beginning of junior high for me.
Hmm.
Yeah.
How did you take that at first? Like how did that feel?
I remember not enjoying having to go between houses.
Hmm.
And there's a lot I don't remember. And I preface this by saying that I think that everybody at the time was doing their best. And looking back, I can see now why I have sort of the reactions to certain feelings or certain scenarios that I do. Um, but at the time, I remember definitely not wanting it to happen. And also feeling like I couldn't, like, I had to make sure that anything I did didn't upset anybody because it was like hard enough already, right? Like, mom and
Hmm.
dad were not doing great from my perspective. You know, I've heard now sort of a little bit of their perspective, but I think for the most part, they really tried to like keep us out of it,
Yeah.
which is probably as confusing as it can be anyway.
Right.
But I just remember being like, oh, I'm in junior high. So obviously, like, life is already terrible for me. Like, everyone is like learning how to be a human. And I would like be at one parent's house and have to pack stuff and go to the other parent's house. And it was rapid. It was like every week, which is kind of a lot.
That is a
And I would
lot.
like forget underwear. I would pack everything and I would forget like
Sure.
underwear, right? And then you get to the other parent's house and it's like, oh, you know, like then they're frustrated because they have like a job to deal with, and like now they're trying to navigate taking care of themselves and like feeding their kids and making sure they have everything they need and getting us to school, and it's just like terrible for everybody. And now I'm like, I have made like the most giant mistake by forgetting underwear. And as an older person, I
Aw.
was like, can everyone just have underwear at their house? Like, can we just have sets of clothes that live in people's houses? Like, why is this on
Let's
me? I'm like
just
13 years old.
No, let's just I mean, I feel like we need to leave underwear at all of our friends' houses. Like that seems like a no-brainer. Yes.
And like a
100%.
toothbrush, whatever is like
Yeah.
100%. You shouldn't have to worry about this. Whatever, split half your clothes. I don't even care. It doesn't have to be like, we can't afford to get you a second set of clothes. So, but for whatever reason, my brain is like, I remember forgetting underwear, and it was like this huge deal. So,
Interesting.
um,
I that's so I mean, it makes sense from what you said in regards to like feeling like, okay, I need to make this as easy as possible on my parents. And like in that way, in that context, you sort of forgetting the underwear is like, oh shit, I made it harder for them.
right.
And I'm bad and I am causing more pain for them. And they're already in pain. How dare me?
And also harder for me because now they're upset and now I'm in trouble, which was like my
Mm.
biggest fear, I think, as a younger person.
Did you get in trouble for something like that?
I mean, I consider, I guess I should explain or like define, for me getting in trouble is like anybody being upset with me for any reason.
Sure.
And I probably still use that language today. And I'll be like, oh, you're not in trouble. I'm just saying like blah, blah, blah. And someone will be like, in
Interesting.
trouble? Like I'm 35 or whatever. Like, how can I be in trouble? And I'm like, ooh, something I need to probably journal about.
Yeah.
But yeah, just that fear of like upsetting somebody, I'm sure comes from probably even before the divorce, right? Just like having parents whose emotions you were likely navigating as a young person is something that comes up a lot in the work that I read now about like
Hmm.
trauma work and how all of that sort of affects even someone who had, I think, sort of on the face of it, what someone would say is like a pretty quote unquote normal or regular typical childhood.
Yeah.
And even my parents divorced in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s. So, or I guess early 90s. So it's like, even then it wasn't sort of a new thing anymore. Like people were sort of, that was more
Yeah.
common.
Right.
But it's still listed in Dr. Nadine Burke Harris's book as like one of the adult childhood,
Yep.
what is it?
Adverse
ACEs?
childhood. Yeah.
Thank you.
Adverse childhood
Adverse childhood
experiences.
experiences. So it's like that, I probably on a scale of 1 to 10 of like 4, and that's from someone saying that they assume they have a pretty typical upbringing. So
That's
I've just
interesting.
been
Yeah. I think
reading
I
a
have a
lot about
6.
that.
I think I have a 6, my friend.
Hmm.
What's interesting about it and sort of heartbreaking to me, and also like the nature of the time, is that you say that, yeah, quote unquote, typical sort of normal childhood. And also you felt like you had to manage emotions, or you felt like you had to sort of tiptoe around,
Hmm.
when I know that's such a tricky space to be, because my parents divorced and then got married to each other again and then divorced again. And it was like very violent and rocky and weird. And I was used as like a mediator. And so like
Mm.
that is tipping too far in one direction, right? But
Uh-huh.
the direction of like not talking to your kids about it maybe is damaging too, right? So like how do you, I mean, obviously I don't know this, but like it feels like, maybe, and this is not to like throw your parents under the bus. They were just doing their best, like you
Sure.
said, but like a conversation saying like, hey, this is what's going on. It's not your fault. This is us, right? Like something like that,
Right.
right?
And
I
it's
don't
like
know.
you can say that too, right? We had like the talk. And to
Yeah.
be fair to my younger brother, he's 6 years younger than me. So if
Mm,
I'm 13, like he has basically no chance of understanding this till later.
right.
And so even if you have that conversation, you have to, in my opinion, as like a caretaker of a human that is like quite literally doesn't have a fully formed prefrontal cortex. Like they don't understand what's going on and they're
Right.
having all these feelings. So if you say one thing, but then you act another way, it's the same thing, I think, as not saying anything at all, right? So if you're like, we still love you and everything's going to be fine, but then like anytime anything doesn't go the way that sort of works out best, and you're like,
Mm,
it's fine, but you're having your own stress response, sort of like everyone feels that, I think. Or
right.
I guess if you're a sensitive person, which I am,
Yeah.
I could tell. So now I'm sort of, watching all these TikToks of people being like, am I an empath or do I just have trauma? And so I know how to read everyone in the room. And I'm like, fuck, like it's
Maybe a
probably
bit of
that.
both.
But isn't it nice to say that it's being an empath? Is maybe that's just all that really is. It's like if you however you got attuned to it, it still works the same way, right? So just try to
well,
use it
I
for good.
use it for good. It is a superpower, because it's like I think it's both, right? It's like having the trauma and being sensitive, and it's because that experience sort of like maybe supercharged that sort of superpower in you.
Hmm.
And it certainly did for me. So how can we take that and use it for good? Like, how can we take this experience and honor the fact that like, hey, it was a survival technique. It like helped me get through my childhood, and it was hard because of that. And also it's this wonderful thing that like helps me connect with others and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, for sure. I
Yeah.
definitely see it as a superpower now,
Mm.
but so much of my survival technique was about suppressing that because all of the comments around my sensitivity were negative.
What
So
kind of
all of
comments did
like,
you get?
you're so sensitive, as
Oh,
like
sure.
why are
Yeah.
you upset about this thing? So it was like a way of gaslighting me.
Yep.
Don't be upset. You shouldn't be anxious. All of those words that are like, oh, I shouldn't, maybe you aren't logically thinking of it. I don't believe as a teenager experiencing panic attacks out of the blue, I don't think I was like, oh, I shouldn't be, and was like actually contemplating people saying these things to me. But it certainly felt sort of like isolating and othering that this was something that was most certainly happening inside of me, both like physical response and emotional response.
Yeah.
And then I think it was a compounding of those feelings that I had as a younger person that we talked a little bit about, like not really feeling in control, or like worried that I might, it was almost like worried that like the ground would shift under my feet because I forgot something, or upset somebody, or like behaved imperfectly or something. So then when I sort of got older, that sense just sort of became a general feeling of like not being safe,
Hmm.
not being in. So my reaction to that was to just like, well, if I control everything, right? If I make sure I never forget my underwear, if that's going to be the metaphor for this episode, which I guess it will be.
It'll be the
I did
title
that to
too.
myself.
Beebe forgets her underwear.
I did that to myself. It is what it is. Let's roll with it. So if I forever I'm like, oh, if I just like white knuckle my way through life, never relaxing, because when I relax, I have decided that things fall apart. Let me
Mm-hmm.
tell you, that is a self-fulfilling prophecy, because
Mm-hmm.
on every vacation I'd ever take, whenever I finally would relax, like if you need a 2-week vacation because the first week is like you can't even yet.
Mm-hmm.
By the second week you relax, and then you get, I don't know, an email or something, or a text. And then you're like, see, I knew it. I knew if I relaxed that I wouldn't remember something, and then
Yeah,
something
we
would
see
go
what we want to
wrong.
see.
Just catastrophizing everything.
Yeah. It's because control is not the language, right? Like we talk about softness and curiosity. Like control is the opposite of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
When it's not control, it's the opposite. Maybe is letting go, accepting, allowing space,
Mm-hmm.
and control is the opposite of that. And I so deeply empathize with the control response. I developed anorexia because of that control response, because I felt, unsafe, and I wanted to like hunker down because I, like you, BB, felt I got the "you're so sensitive," certainly. And then there's just a whole slew of just like, well, this world wasn't made for me. So I need
Right.
to like hunker down and see how I can survive it, which is
Mm-hmm.
so hard to feel as a kid.
For sure. For
Yeah.
sure. And I
Mm.
still, to this day, like I moved away. I went to I was like New England. I went to college in Virginia, and then I went to LA, and I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
these are my people. I moved out there with some girlfriends from college, and just like built a community out there. And I have come back to New England. This is sort of like a full circle. I was in a band at the time that I'm not with any longer, and I moved back here because at the time I was still touring. I could work from anywhere. My husband wanted to start his own business, so we moved back home to start a taco truck together. And so I'm
Wow.
back like where all of this trauma took place.
Mm.
And I only really recently, like probably this week, realized like, oh, I have always been acutely aware of my fight or flight response. And I more recently became aware that a lot of it was a freeze response, and just being like,
Mm.
don't
Yeah.
move, don't upset anybody, whatever. But like, I quite literally learned that after my parents split up in junior high, I went to boarding school. So I got to leave. I got to fly. I got to flight away to school, and sort of had, there was a can of worms there, because that's where I started having panic attacks. But then that's, I think, where my brain was like, oh, we can just remove ourselves from these situations
Yeah.
and not have to feel these scary feelings. So now I'm back with all of these tools that I've learned in my woo life in California, which I'm so grateful for. And I'm like, oh, here we are. We have our PhD in like empathy and like sitting in discomfort. And it's like we're writing our dissertation, like reliving our childhood trauma in an adult body. Let me tell you, it sucks. But it also feels like divinely orchestrated, because
Mm.
I think that if I hadn't have gone down the road that I went down, and followed like the feeling, and like diving into the discomfort, and joining the band, and leaving my day job, and doing all of this stuff, and starting to write my own music, I wouldn't have come back here, and I could have lived my whole life never actually like going what I consider sort of like going back into my body and like caretaking my like 14-year-old self.
Mm-hmm.
And it sucks because I'm re-feeling what it felt like to be 14 right now, but at least I can reparent myself while I'm doing that.
Mm.
So it's like amazing and also sucks at the same time.
Tell
You
me,
know,
yeah, let's
to
get
like
into
feel it
that.
twice. You're like, yeah,
Let's
you want to do that again?
well, I'm curious about the specificity there of the reparenting because
Yeah.
I know how hard it is, and I know how important it is. Last year I did a bit of EMDR work, so I
Hmm.
started doing that process and sort of going back and just giving my younger kiddo self just buckets of love and stuff,
Hmm.
and it's certainly brought up a lot of hard memories and hard feelings, and it's also been uh, tremendously healing. So like, tell me a little bit about some of the specifics there. I'm curious.
Well, first of all, I've done EMDR specifically exactly once, and I was like, this is witchcraft, and everyone should try it. I had read about it, and I did a session when I was still in Los Angeles, and it was so immediately transformative from a place of like pain and not enoughness, which is where we were when we were sort
Mm,
of like going back into a memory or whatever. And when she was like, and when my therapist was like, okay, now we're gonna like turn on the buzzers, because mine was little hand buzzers,
mm-hmm,
and the beeping in your ears, because I know everyone sort of does it differently. It was like the response of my body from I'm not enough and everything is competitive to there's enough for everyone and I'm amazing and you're amazing and everyone is amazing, which is how I believe the world is. But I
mm-hmm.
can never get myself to stay in that space, or I should say, I haven't been able to consistently stay in that sort of energy field,
Yeah, yeah.
how I would look at the world in right now currently. But the fact that my brain was like, oh hell yeah, I'm super ready to be here. I was like, EMTR is amazing. So that's great. I love that you have done that too. The specifics about reparenting for me was that it's come up a lot in a lot of the reading that I've done about trauma. And
Mm,
I think because I sort of hit a place where, yes, meditation is in my toolbox. Yes, I know about breath work. Yes, I know about meditation. But for me, a lot of what I need to do is like be in a feeling that's uncomfortable and just sort of like sit in it and then let myself feel it again completely all the way to sort of let that feeling cycle through my body, which, as we just talked about, that sort of flight response turned into this feeling is bad or it's wrong or I shouldn't be feeling this way. So how do I distract? So a
mm-hmm,
lot of reparenting probably started in 2019, where when we came back to New England to start this truck, I wasn't in like a super great place. I was sort of like felt ungrounded. I'd been touring for 200 days a year. I just like, even my own apartment didn't feel like home. It just felt like another place I was going to unpack my bag for however long. And that
mm.
was a terrible place for me as a Pisces. I'm like all air and water. I have like no grounding as it is. And here I am like living out of a suitcase. Like, this is amazing. I never have to feel my feelings or deal with my problems. Um, so when we were back in New England and I'm like, okay, sometimes I feel sad and it makes me want to eat foods that I know don't serve my body, but are like comforting and nostalgic.
Mm-hmm.
And so instead of vilifying food, which I really didn't want to do, I was like, okay, that's something we can, this is me in my head talking to myself. Okay, if you want that, you can totally have it. First of all, we're just going to eat something because we're hungry. We need to nourish our body. And then if you still want insert food here, you can have it. So I would do that. And if I'm still having, let's say it was a sadness, I was like, okay, I would imagine myself as like the 6-year-old version of me laying, like sitting on the front steps of our house in Newmarket, like laying on my pumpkin, hugging my Halloween
Oh
pumpkin.
my goodness.
And I had I had looked like little orphan Annie from the musical, but with little blonde curls. So I'm just like imagining like helpless little baby Beebe and being like, I just want to take care of her. So if I'm feeling sad, I would imagine this little person and I would imagine like holding her like I would hold my niece who's 4. And I would just be like, how do you feel? And I would sort of let myself answer as my young self in my mind. Oh,
Hmm.
I'm feeling sad. And then my adult self would be like, okay, well, you can be sad here and I will hold you and lay with you or whatever it is for as long as you need so that you can feel sad for as long as you need to. Because part of the symptom of having anxiety for me is that I would wake up in the middle of the night or I wouldn't sleep and I would be like alone and terrified of whatever, the nuclear plant down the street or an asteroid hitting the planet. It was the 90s.
Hmm.
It's not my fault. Like a bunch of movies came out about it.
Deep
So just
impact.
things outside of
Armageddon.
my control, right?
Yeah.
Things I cannot control that are like life threatening that no one else is aware of because I'm the only one awake. And so when I would wake up in the middle of the night, once my 6-year-old self, I felt like after a couple of months was sort of like off in the corner playing. She was like, I'm good. And now it's like my teenage self is like, I'm here and I'm not going to be the easy one. I'm here to be a
Hmm.
teenager. And I would wake up in the middle of the night, sometimes feeling really anxious. And I would do the same thing. And I would be like, how do you feel? And I'd be like, well, I feel really stressed or I feel really scared and I don't know why. There's no reason. I'd be like, okay, well, I promise you that never again will you be awake alone in the middle of the night because I'm you. So I'm always going to be here. And it
Hmm.
was like such a comforting way to address that. And so
Yeah.
if that happens now, not only does it happen less, but if it does happen, it really actually does help me feel better because it feels like there's an adult in the room when a lot of those middle of the night things that are happening are like usually not rational,
Yeah.
in my opinion or in my experience. So
Sure.
that's sort of like the basics that reparenting has been for me.
I think that's beautiful. I love that. I love that you can go from this place of fretting about this thing that's completely out of your control to sort of grounding it in all the wisdom that you've sort of held and picked up along the way as a human person living on this planet and giving your past selves kindnesses along the way. That's beautiful. It's really beautiful. Were you, I talked to a lot of people who have sort of similar sort of sensitivities growing up and felt the same way. And there's usually it breaks down into like two contingents. One being sort of like, let's fuck shit up as a teenager and like get into trouble. That was me.
Yeah.
And then the other being like, let's be as perfect as possible. Let's go in that direction. Which were you?
I was definitely let's be as perfect as possible, but with like a really sassy attitude.
Ooh, okay.
So I would be like, I'm doing really well in school, but I would also get so frustrated and like talk back to my mom, and it was just like not appreciated. Um, yeah, I feel like because I was so afraid of getting in trouble that when
Yeah.
I did do what I would consider pretty normal teenage stuff, like trying to like sneak a little booze, like trying to smoke a little weed as like a 15-year-old. So it's like I guess it was kind of a little bit young, but to me there were people doing way worse stuff in whatever in
Yeah.
my qualifications.
Yeah.
So when I would do anything that was sort of what I would imagine to be part of the average teenage experience, I would also have intense anxiety about getting caught or in trouble for it. So I think
Sure.
that helped me not be so wild because I was only like 16 when I started having panic attacks. And then by then it was like, I don't know what's causing them, lock it all down
Right.
for the time being.
That makes sense to me. I don't know if I've ever had a panic attack. I will say that I've had periods of severe anxiety, and how that anxiety can manifest is in certainly some shortness of breath, certainly some like chest pain and tightness, right? But I don't think I've had a sort of maybe what one would call a typical
Hmm.
panic attack. Have you had
Hmm.
them since that time in your life?
Yeah. So I didn't for a really long time. I
Mm,
was really like sophomore, junior year of high school. I can't remember exactly. And quite immediately, because dealing with anxiety in like 1996 or 7 was like, we don't really know so much about this. I think like Prozac had just come out, right?
sure.
Prozac
Yeah.
Nation had just come out, that book. So they put me on like Klonopin immediately, which was a
Mm,
drug that was invented for like children that had seizures. It was really intense. So that was like, okay, in the meantime, we're just gonna like give you this drug so that your nervous system will relax, right? Sort of artificially at least, until we can get you in therapy and get you to a psychiatrist to sort of help medicate you so you can like go to school.
right.
Um and and so all through high school, I'm like, they've got me on drugs. It's fine. I'm like totally a proponent of like, if you need medication to like do your life, absolutely do it. So
Yep.
took medication all through high school, went to college. And I think part of my, I guess, trigger for my body was also my environment, which is not uncommon. So when I
Hmm.
went to college, I absolutely did what you should never do, which is stop taking all of your drugs cold turkey. And I didn't need them. I mean, I still had anxiety, but I attribute a lot of that to the beer that I was drinking. It turns out I don't do well with grains at all. So drinking beer, not great. General sort of college lifestyle and diet, not super healthy for that.
Yep.
And my college relationship was a little dramatic, just like very, um, what am I thinking of? Like daytime TV, very, just dramatic. Didn't
Yeah.
wasn't great. So left college, moved to Los Angeles, didn't have any panic attacks for quite a long time. Certainly had plenty of anxiety, just like anxiety at work, anxiety about living on my own, all of that stuff, just
Hmm.
normal. I have a heightened sense of anxiety. It's sort of like my baseline anyway.
Hmm.
Um, but not really like panic anxiety.
Right.
Just sort of like more nervousness or uncertainty or like still that perfectionism, which I now
Hmm.
am seeing was probably just me being anxious or part of my predisposition towards anxiety. But as a performer, I remember I have been performing for a while with this 1940s like singing and dancing pinup group. So it was like Andrew's Sisters, Victory Rolls, like the whole 1940s thing. And we had a big show. I'd been doing it for at least a couple years at this point, and we had a big show in Vegas. And I'm on stage, and in the middle of a song, I start to have a panic reaction, which is just
Mm,
like my body goes entirely cold. My initial instinct is like to run off stage, which
sure.
I was like, well, we definitely can't do that. That is like, for me, it's like the show must go on. I
Yeah.
take it very seriously. So I'm on stage, I'm like having a panic attack, and I'm just like, well, I guess we're just gonna have to have it while we sing this song. So I'm singing with my two friends on stage, doing all of the like moves, singing and dancing. And then afterwards, sort of told my girlfriends what had happened. And they were like, oh my God, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm more pissed than anything because this hasn't happened in so long. I'm not in any
Mm,
danger. It's not even like stage fright. Like this show was rehearsed. Sometimes my body just mistakes excitement for fear, right? They're
mm,
not that dissimilar. And
mhm,
since that first time that it had happened, since, I was much, much younger, it has happened probably a handful of more times, like always on stage, always during a show.
interesting.
And I made a deal with myself that was like, whatever you need to do on stage to not give into it, because for me it was like, you can't let the anxiety win. Like you can't let
Mm,
the anxiety prevent you from doing what you are great at, what you love, how you connect with other people. And whatever is going on that's trying to, I sort of othered it, right? I'm like, whatever is trying to like sabotage you or is causing you to feel this way, we're not going to let it win. Never have I
Mm.
gone to start a song and like it's never not come or something. And I think that's what my brain was trying to attach to something. So yeah,
Interesting.
it has happened. And I still don't quite understand it, but
Well,
I
it's int-
just
I
feel like people need to know that it
yeah,
happens and it's okay.
totally.
And like you will survive,
You
but
will.
it
You will
but it
survive.
sucks.
Well, what's interesting about it to me is, well, first of all, you just sort of relaying the story like makes my chest tighten just hearing about it. Like the first question I had was like, did anyone around you, the people you talked to after, the subsequent experiences on stage, did anyone around you recognize something off in you?
No, never.
So that's fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Like I see that as like, yes, on one hand, you're like, fuck that. I'm doing what I love here. I want to keep doing what I love. And at the same time, like I wonder if there's, I mean, this is not in any judgment. This is in all love. I'm like, as a curious sort of like from a
Yeah.
psychological perspective, like
Yeah.
I wonder if like there's a part of you that's like building a pattern of shutting that off and not sort of allowing for the curiosity and softness. But of course you're not going to give into it on stage. So it's like, it's such a
Right.
tricky thing.
Right. And I think what I would do, even when I had panic attacks when I was younger, when they first started happening, besides the very first time, because the very first time I was like,
I'm dying.
either I'm dying or like the world is literally ending, because of why would I feel this irrationally afraid if
Yeah.
it wasn't? Like, why isn't everyone running around screaming? Because that's how I feel in my body right now.
Yeah.
Like Mars Attacks version of a movie. Everyone's like, ah.
Yeah.
So, and I remember it was during the Little League World Series, and I was at my advisor's house. Because remember, I'm away at boarding school, and I'm like sitting there watching the Little League World Series going, well, I guess this is the last Little League World Series is ever going to happen. And
Oh
I'm
my
holding a
goodness.
banana, which is what I'm miming in the video right now. I'm holding a banana, but I can't eat it because, of course, my mouth is so dry. I can't even imagine putting any food into my body.
Yeah.
It was so strange. Everyone was just sort of like, oh, we don't really know how to help you. Just like come over and sit down, and here's a glass of water.
Yeah.
And you're just like, why isn't everyone see the world is on fire right now?
Yeah. Wow.
So,
That has to be jarring.
So maybe that's why. Maybe because everyone was like, I don't know. We're not going to take you to the emergency room, because I wasn't like, I'm literally dying. Take me to the
Right.
hospital.
Right.
My response was, no one seems to understand what's happening. So I guess I'll just sit here and sort of like panic quietly inside of myself.
Sure.
So maybe that's why. I didn't even think about that till you just said that.
Maybe that's why. And also what's powerful about it is, and I think about this in context of I have clinical depression. So I have really fucking dark moments and suicidal moments, and they come and go pretty often. And I can tell myself, when it's happening, I could tell myself, you've been here before. You can do this again. You will get through it. You will not die, right? So like maybe there's a part of you too that's like, well, I've been here before. I won't die. I will survive, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also feel like it's possible. I do think sometimes still that because of those previous experiences, that my body sometimes really does mistake excitement for fear. So most of the times when I've had these panic attacks, it's been at a show that's been a bigger show.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would do to combat that, to make sure that my brain couldn't last minute be like, are you sure you remember this song? It'll make up a reason. It'll be a song I've been singing for 5 years.
Of course.
And I'm not the kind of person who's like, I wonder what the lyrics are to this song. Like I could sing you the entire Lion King soundtrack right now. Like it's just burned in my brain. It's just the way
and
it
I
works.
can sing you the Little Mermaid soundtrack.
Yes, I'll join you. So I would be on stage, and my brain, I would start to feel this feeling, and I'd essentially would be like, why am I feeling this way? And then I feel like my brain would go, it's because you don't know how the next song starts. And then, of course, I'm thinking about it. But how can you think about how the next song starts when you're quite literally still performing the song that's happening?
Right.
It doesn't work. It's like sing a song and then try to think of a song by another band. You'll be like, I can't. Your brain is,
Yeah.
you have to focus on one thing. So
Yes.
because of that happening, I would start to be like, how can I outsmart my anxiety? So before every gig, I mean, I don't know if this is technically OCD, but it is how I can sort of understand the framework of family members of mine that have had more severe symptoms of obsessive compulsive disorder and how that shows up in their life. So
Mm.
what I would do is then, to make sure that that didn't happen, I would rehearse the entire set before we went on stage. Even if it was
Mhm.
songs that I'd been singing for, like I said, 5, 6, 7 years, so that if that feeling happened on stage, I could say, there's no way that that's it, because you just ran that song tonight and you know how it goes. And
There you go.
I do think that part of that anxiety was happening because, or those attacks were happening because I was ignoring other boundaries that were being crossed in my life, right?
Mm.
That sort of
Mhm.
comes up for me when I start to ignore the signs that maybe I should move on from something.
Mhm.
And to be fair, this was happening for probably the last 2 or 3 years that I was with Dust Bowl, when I think that I started to realize that this wasn't a lifestyle that was sustainable for me, being on the road so much. And so this would happen infrequently, but intensely. And I think that part of that was a symptom of me ignoring my instincts.
Yeah.
So my ignoring my instincts for me shows up like, whatever we're predisposed to.
Yeah.
Um, and not that there aren't other chemical imbalances and things at play. I don't mean to discount any of that. But for me, a lot of there are a lot of emotional consequences and like sort of energetic consequences if I don't live authentically and I'm making decisions for other people.
Mhm. Yeah. Same. I feel that.
So,
So out of that experience, those thoughts, you leave Dust Bowl
mhm.
and you create your own solo album, which is amazing. How has that experience been, and like how did that come about? How long have you been working on it? It's coming out soon, I know.
Yeah, it's been super interesting because I had originally planned to release this music while still performing with Dust Bowl. I didn't
Mm.
know that I was going to make that change. I think because I felt a lot of responsibility for have been in that project for so long, and sort of the amount of time and energy and care I put into it, the relationships I made in the band, the relationships I made with our fans. And it was a really big lifestyle shift to go from having a day job in like television production to being a full-time touring musician. Um, so I ended up starting to write the songs that are on this album probably about 2 years ago. And so they weren't all written at once to make an album. They just happened to be, it's actually quite a lovely, I think, um, example of sort of me growing into the kind of writer that I will appear to be, I guess, on the next album, because
Mm.
there's such a long amount of time between sort of when the first song on this album was written and the last song on this album was written. So it's really sort of me coming into my own voice as a writer and I guess as like a solo artist, even though I have people that I love that played on this album with me. So I really understood that I was going to make the decision to leave Dust Bowl after we'd been forced to come off the road because of COVID. And then once I'd been home for about a year, I was like, it's for sure the
Yeah.
most kind choice to tell them now than to wait until touring picks up and then be like, surprise, I've known, but I didn't tell you. Right. So
Yep. Yep.
as soon as I was like, touring is going to come back and I should tell people now, because I really don't think I'm going to change my mind. It just feels right to be home right now. It feels right to be off the road and to focus more on writing and recording. And I think it's a little bit of absence makes the heart grow fonder. And I hope by 2022, I'll be like, I've got a second album's worth of music and I'm ready to play some live shows again. But for now, I think I just really tapped I tapped the well too much, and so I was losing the joy, of it.
Mm,
So having this album to
yeah.
share with people, especially while I'm not performing it live for them, is really special because I have taken so much time off, and because so much of COVID, there were some really dark moments for me too. It's almost like COVID notwithstanding, the past couple years have been really tough for me,
Yeah.
family wise and relationship wise, and just growth for myself. So, um, being able to share this with people and remembering sort of the joy that I have in music and allowing myself to start getting back into writing again is really nice
Mm,
to have as a way to connect with people
yeah.
and myself.
Well, I love that. I love that. I mean, I think the best. I mean, I listening to that album, your new album. Uh, it's very clearly very personal and very vulnerable, and I that's the stuff that I connect to. Like that's just like I want to see someone's essence or someone's story in their words, right? Like I want to see some because that's what allows me in, right? That's what allows me to connect with it and say like, "Oh yeah. Oh, that one word or the way she phrased that one thing, like I that reminds me of this experience or whatever, right?" Like so
Hmm.
I I will say that listening to your album does make me feel very connected, does make me feel seen and heard in ways that I think every good piece of music should.
Thank
So,
you. That's high
yeah.
praise. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I
That's
love
the
it. I mean,
goal.
that is the goal, huh?
Just like,
I mean, we want the stuff we want to put out in the world. I mean, I feel in this podcast on the work I do with Feel Human, like it's about connection, everything,
mhm.
right? It's about like, how can we be in the world? Because as you know, like our panic attacks or anxieties or depressions, that's the stuff that isolates. Like I want to lean into the stuff that connects, and that stuff is creative stuff. That's music, that's writing, that's podcasting, whatever you want to call it. It's like that's the stuff. Like I just turned 40 this year, back in July, and I it feels great. First of all, I had the best day. I called it the day of known. Went for a hike, went to the record shop, ate my favorite Mexican food, and then took a bunch of mushrooms, and it was a perfect day. But like
Nice.
I'm just like I'm at a stage in my life where I'm like I need to lean deeper and more passionately into connection.
Yeah. I
And
turned 40 this year
I say
too.
that as an introvert. You did.
Yeah. In
Nice.
March.
When? Oh, in March. Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Nice.
I
How'd you
have to
celebrate?
say that, like, I actually did like a COVID safe trip. So we did an Airbnb, just my husband and I and a couple of our friends. We both took our dogs and we just made sure that it had like hiking trails and a hot tub. And so we just like,
Amazing.
we just wanted to get out, but
Totally.
not be around other people. So,
Yeah, yeah. Where'd you
um,
go?
so we live in Kittery, Maine, and we went to Portland area.
Okay.
So
Nice.
not very far, just like 45 minutes, just enough to feel like you got out of town, but didn't have to travel too long or
Yeah.
any of the inconvenient part of travel, just the easy stuff.
Easy stuff. Yeah, I'm with
But I
that. How did
really
it?
agree with
Yeah.
that, with what you said about like, for me, besides just the connection, and this is why my tagline on Instagram and wherever else that you put like your elevator 5-second pitch, I guess, is like I sing my feelings and yours, because I have, even in Dust Bowl or even when I performed anyone else's music, have a theater training. So all of my training is like, how can I pour myself and my human experience into this art that then I'm sharing with you? So whether
Mm,
that's a song I've written or not, my whole thing, I guess, my whole performance, and the reason why I think I'm good at what I do is that I'm really delivering you whatever story it is that I'm telling through my lens. And I'm
Yep.
doing it as authentically as possible. And when I'm singing that song, again, whether or not it's mine or whether it's one that Zach, the co-lead in Dust Bowl, wrote, I'm telling that story like it's my story. And with my
Mhm.
songs, it is my story. So I'm
Mhm.
definitely telling you how I felt. And I think that how we feel is the universal human experience. Of course,
Mhm.
there are specifics that are different between all of us. And like you said,
Totally.
there's intersectionality there. But I know what it's like to feel dismissed, or I know what it's like to feel disrespected, or I know what it's like to feel loved or betrayed or abandoned. And like that, how that felt for me and my body, I think will register with you or whoever is listening, and how it felt in their body to feel
Mhm.
maybe not how I felt it, but how they felt it. And then that
Absolutely.
creates that authentic connection. And then
Yep.
on top of that, if you come after the show and you're like, what are you drinking? I'm like, let's talk about your feelings and your human experience because I'm the no small talk person out in
Yeah.
public. Like I have
Same.
conversations like this all the time. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
you need like a
100%.
pocket recorder so you can do this wherever you go.
True. I'm not going anywhere now, but I hear you, and I feel that too. I've been, I think, off of small talk since I was a kid. Like
Yeah.
it's never been for me. Like I just like
Mm-hmm.
I've always ached this. Like I want deep connection always and
Mm-hmm.
forever. You know. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel you. Um, what I was gonna ask is, how did it feel turning 40? Did you have any anxiety about it? Did it? What came up for you?
I think when I turned 40, I was just surprised mostly. I don't have kids. I have a dog. I don't feel what I think I thought or what I think our culture in general expects 40 to look and feel like. I
Hmm.
don't always think it's very polite, but I have people say to me all the time that they wouldn't have guessed that I would be 40, right? And I understand that that is meant as a compliment, but I'm also like, what does that mean? Like, what does 40 look like? Besides the fact that you think I look and act younger than I am, right? Which
There
is
you go.
almost like a backhanded compliment. It's like, what is it then? What does 40 mean to somebody, right?
Right.
Because it really, truly, the way that I look at it is like, well, I have this amount of experience and time that I have spent with other people. So I didn't feel a lot of things when I turned 40, other than like, this feels like a birthday that's big as a number. So I
Hmm.
want to do something for it. So I really wanted to make it about celebrating as sort of normally as I could, right?
Yeah.
Safely. And I would say that I've had some later in the year, more recently, where I'm still sort of working through some stuff. And I called a friend to just be like, this is what's been going on for the past couple of years. And my friend goes, who's a little older than me, I think he's 45 or 46, goes, well, that's 40. And I was like, wait, seriously? Am I having like what you might call a midlife crisis? Is
Yeah.
that what all of this is? I was like, I feel like such a stereotype. So when I turned 40, I didn't really feel those things. But now that it's like, I don't know, it's September, right? So
Yeah.
6 months later,
Yeah.
I have had a lot of fallout that's like just grief, I think, just grief that is
Mm.
unprocessed grief for
Hmm.
whatever it is. So many things. There's
Well,
grief
there's
in
been a
leaving
lot
the
of grief.
band. There's grief
Oh
being here.
yeah.
There's collective grief. Yeah,
There's
it's
yeah,
just a
grief and
lot.
change, and you've had big change and transition. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you nailed it when you said, like, ultimately, like, the person who says, like, oh, I wouldn't have expected you to be 40, which is what I get too. And I think that's another language that is connected to sort of capitalism, and I think it's a bit toxic because it is another way that we can sort of like put people in boxes and sort of define them on a level that's not sort of authentic and unique to their makeup, right? Their person, right? And that yeah, I don't appreciate either, because it's not about like, that is just, that's small talk, right? That's a thing we say. Oh, this is just a thing we say when we get like,
Right.
when we don't know what to say, we say, oh, you look younger than you are, or whatever. And
Hmm.
yeah, let's do away with that.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and it's also that fetishizing youth, right? I'm really
Totally.
grateful for the experience that I've had. And when I was 23, I didn't have the emotional stability that I have now. And I didn't know how to feel calm without being like, am I just sleepy? So I'm really grateful to be alive and 40 and have having made or having, I guess, experienced so much growth.
Yeah.
I feel so grateful for that. Even when I'm like in the most of a depressive episode, I'm the most in it. I'm still like, I'm so grateful that I'm experiencing this, because I know
Hmm.
that this is a part of me sort of walking through the fire of the human experience. And yeah, I'm with you. When people say that to me, I call them out. I'm like, what does that mean? When you say that, what do you mean? Because we say so many things that don't mean anything. Just
100%. It's just
phrases.
like,
Why are you
yeah,
saying that? Because you've heard it before. But what do you
yeah.
really mean? So I'll be like, when you say that, what do you mean? And then they're like, well,
Well, yeah, for sure. We say stuff all the time. We don't know what it means. I just, it goes back to what you said about pausing and sort of the critical thinking, I think, that goes into real emotional work and curiosity work and empathy work. Just more of that,
hmm
please. Yeah.
hmm
So I was in preparation for this, and I usually don't do a ton of prep, but I got sort of onto your blog and was reading some of your old writing, which I enjoyed very much. You're a good writer.
Oh, thanks.
And I think I read that you were diagnosed with SIBO. Is that correct?
I was, yeah. Yep.
Are you, so first of all, we're SIBO buddies. I also have SIBO. I was diagnosed like maybe a decade ago,
Okay.
before like there was any medicine or whatever. Like I think just like last year or the year before, they like the FDA approved some medicine that actually helps or whatever.
hmm
Um, when did that arise for you?
So that's so funny. Because if people go to my blog now, it's like I've written about the music. I've sort of transitioned, but my blog literally started out as a health blog. My friend
Oh,
had a dream. And she was like, I had a dream. This was at the time I was really deep into my gut health. And she was like, I had a dream that you wrote a book, and it was called Feels Good: My Journey to Health Through Music. 'Cause Feels Good is a Dust Bowl song that I
mm.
sang. And I was like, that's a fucking great idea. And then I told it to my family, and my stepmom was like, maybe start with a blog. And I was like, first of all, I will start with a blog, but also I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what I'm talking about. It's like shrink your goal, shrink yourself.
Mm.
It's like
Yeah,
historical patterns. Anyway, I
yeah.
did
How
start a
dare
blog.
you, stepmom?
I did start a blog, and it actually helped a lot of people. Like strangers would be like, I read your blog. I'm also changing my lifestyle and diet. And I'm like, great. I can't eat anything right now, but I feel so much happier. So SIBO, which I don't know if your audience knows this, but they only like found out it existed, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, in like 1996. It's
Yeah,
like
it's very
so
new.
recent.
Yeah.
And your gut quite literally makes the hormones that your brain needs to like feel joy. So the fact that this isn't a thing that doctors are like, wow, nutrition, we don't even get taught it, makes me furious. So anyway, about 10 years ago, I started to I had done an elimination diet as a teenager, which is, I'm sure you know this, but just for the audience, when you cut out sort of the most typically allergenic foods to see if you're reactive to them, you cut them out for like 2 to 4 weeks, and then literally one at a time, you reintroduce them over a couple of days, see if you react. If you
Yep.
do, don't eat them and see how you feel. So it's sort of like the gold standard for finding out if you have food allergies, because if you do have food allergies and you get one of those tests, you could be like cross reactive and not actually the thing you're allergic to could come up. And I'm saying this as like intolerance, not like anaphylaxis.
Yeah.
So I in my 30s, at around 30, 29, 30, right before I joined Dust Bowl, I was like completely exhausted. Couldn't get out of bed to go to work. Was like would wake up, would be so tired I couldn't get out of bed, and I would just weep and then go to the office. I
Mm.
was so stressed, I was so anxious. And at this time, I had already done a bunch of elimination diets, and I already knew that I like didn't do great with grains. I don't do great with sugar. It just like exacerbates my anxiety. It doesn't make me feel good. And so, but I could never like commit because I didn't have like a quote unquote diagnosis to like hold on to and be like, you
Of
really
course.
shouldn't be eating this. So
Yeah.
I would just be like, whatever, I'm going to eat one way. I was like yo-yo dieting, but not for weight loss. I would be like, I'm eating really good, quote unquote. And then I'm going to eat like Domino's because I love Domino's. I really do. It's terrible. I love Domino's. So I went to a doctor because I would sleep like 15 hours when I wasn't at work, and I wouldn't want to get out of bed the whole weekend. And I was like depressed and anxious, and it was terrible. So I went to work with this doctor. He did a full gut like stool test on me to find out why I have been bloating very aggressively since even I was a young teenager. And he was like, you have SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Now, the way that he handles it, his name is Dr. Ruscio, and he's in Walnut Creek, California. I already at the time was like, I'm doing another elimination diet. And if I'm doing it, this is the last time I'm doing it, like in my life, because I felt like it was either all or nothing. So I cross-referenced all the diets that I knew that were sort of healing diets, as you might say. So I did autoimmune paleo, which is supposed to help narrow down the foods that might be affecting someone that has like Hashimoto's or another autoimmune disease like Crohn's disease, celiac disease, right? That's really focused on sort of anti-inflammatory foods, nutrient-dense foods, no dairy, no nightshades, anything like that. So pretty strict.
Yeah.
Then I cross-referenced that with like the gut and the GAPS diet. Of course, now I can't remember exactly what it stands for. And then the specific carbohydrate diet, because I already knew that like
I tried
carbs
that
weren't
one.
great for me. So I did them all at once. So I took like the AIP list, and then I took all the other lists and I crossed out anything on the AIP list that was on any other list. And so for a really long time, I ate high quality, high fat meats, greens, and then like cucumbers and carrots. It was like, I had to eat a lot of it, obviously, to like make sure I was getting enough calories, but it was very restricted at the time. So I could figure out what was inflaming my system. I can eat more than that now. So when I went to see Dr. Ruscio, he was like, I want you to go on the autoimmune protocol, autoimmune paleo diet. And I was like, I'm already doing it. And I'm also not eating all this stuff. And he was like, great. Because for him, it's like food first, cut it out, and then let's see what's going on and then build you back up.
Yep.
And we targeted the SIBO with antimicrobial supplements. So I didn't take any antibiotics for it. And it was like a little more of a laser focus therapy as opposed to a more broad spectrum that was going to wipe out some more of my gut bacteria, which was how I ended up in this situation in the first place.
Got it.
I was on antibiotics a lot as a kid for like acne and like ear infections. So for a really long time, they put me on things that were just like wiping out my gut. And then it was like, no wonder I developed anxiety and depression because my gut wasn't making any of the happy hormones. It was all the sort of the bacteria that was left is all the stuff that causes symptoms that we don't like so much.
Right. It's such a. I mean, it sounds like you were on it, because I know that for me, like, it was kind of exhausting. Like, I didn't want to have to deal with it. Like, I'm at a place now where like I mostly avoid grains. Yeah, and I mostly eat vegetarian, and I eat some cheese. You know, I don't drink. I'm sober.
Hmm.
So that helped. But the whole process of like the elimination diets, and I was very sensitive to, as someone who's like was anorexic for a decade.
Yeah.
Like the whole sort of getting into that territory was like, oh, I gotta be careful here, right?
Sure.
So,
Sure.
but it's exhausting, and it does make you feel, and it has a connection to, you know, sort of the process of trying to find an antidepressant, for instance, right? It's just
Hmm.
exhausting.
Hmm.
And I always remind people that it is exhausting. It does feel like you're a lab rat at times, especially this stuff that's like so new, and you're worthy of figuring it out, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So like
And
that
yeah.
perspective takes patience and a lot of self-compassion, and certainly health insurance. So I feel very privileged there. But it's, you
Oh
know,
yeah,
it's
none of this was
hard.
covered by health insurance for me. It was like $30,000 by the quote
Oh
unquote
my
end of
God.
when I was. Oh yeah, I was like, I got an endoscopy, I got a colonoscopy that was covered, but the anesthesia wasn't covered. None of the visits with my functional medicine doctor were covered because the American health system doesn't believe in like nutrition or supplements, right? Because if the FDA hasn't told you that it's something that you can take,
Mm,
then of course it doesn't work. Instead of
right.
there being studies of things that show that that they are efficacious, but
Mm,
again,
yeah,
it's very complicated, and a lot of it I think has to do with sort of capitalism and commercialism. But
totally.
the good thing is that because of who I am as a person and where I was at the time, and a little bit about what we talked about in terms of like the healing part of, the fixing part of the healing sort of journey that I was on, that
Hmm.
was when I was like, okay, I'm going to figure this out and I'm going to like, buckle down and do it. And I'm grateful that I had the energy at the time. I mean, technically I didn't have the energy, but I was like, what's the alternative? So when I made the decision, I was hardcore about it for a certain period of time. And I'm grateful that I was able to, because it really took like down to kale coming out. Kale was like on the list of something that I should have been able to have. And I was like, it just seems a little bit rough for someone whose digestion isn't working as well as mine. And it was the very last thing that I cut out. And as soon as I did, in addition to all of these other foods, I stopped bloating. And so for
Mm,
me, that was my body being like, oh my God, thank God for like just giving us what we can
yeah,
digest. And
yeah.
that was enough to like keep me going while I worked with this doctor and we got rid of SIBO. And it is my last remaining symptom. I don't eat that strict anymore. But it is exhausting and I'm fatigued of it now. I mean, that was 10 years ago. And now I'm just like, sometimes I just don't want to eat anything because I'm so bored of food being
Totally,
something I have to figure out.
totally.
So I actually have like I have make sure that I have like certain shakes and like food bars in my purse because I know I have to fuel myself, but I'm just like so
Yes,
over food being a thing I have to think about.
such an important
Oh,
reminder for people. Yeah, like have like some mainstays near you, because yeah, I'm the same. It's like I'm exhausted in thinking about it. I don't want to have to like make another special dinner.
mm,
I just want to. I what I tell Jessica, what I call it is, I say caloric bits, and I
yeah.
say it in like a robot voice, because it's like I just need calories because I'm a human person, and
Right.
it's like, because I'm with you. It's like fucking tired of this shit.
Do
But
you
you know,
lose do you lose like hunger signals when you are feeling especially depressed?
absolutely, yeah. I have to remind myself to eat. I
Hmm.
have to like I will. Usually I'm not hungry in the morning, but I have to force myself to eat because it's I know that it's not good for me. I know that if I don't eat, I will maybe become the monster, the aforementioned monster that you mentioned, you know.
Yeah,
Um
yeah.
and I've learned over time that like I'm someone who has to eat every like few hours, so like I need like my sort of mainstay snacks and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
happens to me too. That the way that I work, is that I will have my coffee that I put my collagen protein and my heavy cream into, so that I'm getting like a baby meal first thing.
Mm.
And I don't even drink a lot of caffeine. It's like half of it is decaf. But if I am doing something work wise, especially, I won't get hunger signals until like 2 p.m. And I
Mm.
definitely know that my digestive system does not want me to eat 1.5 meals a day all at once, right?
Yes.
Like it also is like, please break this up for me. It's hard
Yeah.
enough being inside of you. So I really try to like, it's been something I've more consciously done this year where I try to like front load calories earlier in the day. And I sometimes have to like have an egg or two and some bacon. And then a couple hours later, just like have a little chicken salad that I made for the week and some lettuce. So like if I break it up, I can sort of get more in because I'm not
Hmm.
hungry.
Sure.
But I know it exacerbates all the stuff that we're talking about. I'm
Yeah.
less patient. My brain is foggy, right? I'll experience all of the same symptoms I would have had when I was having SIBO or other gut problems because
Yeah.
your body needs fuel to survive. And at least the way that I respond to like being an American is like, I will just ignore all of my needs and do what needs to be done outside of myself. So
Yeah.
that's been a practice I've had to work on.
Yeah. That is often the default. So this new album comes out September 17th.
Mm-hmm.
Are you, obviously we're sort of living in a pandemic. You mentioned maybe getting out sort of in front of people in 2022. Or are you going to try to do that before or?
If I feel called to before that, I would. But
Yeah.
right now, I just don't. It's not an urge that I have. And it
Sure.
surprises me to say it because
Hmm.
so much of my music relationship is from performance.
Mm-hmm.
I like to say I sort of fell backwards into music because I didn't go to school for any of it. And apparently that's how I gauge things. So I studied theater and I always thought that's what I would do. I moved to LA to pursue acting and I did for a while. And singing has just been something I've always done.
Mm-hmm.
And I think honestly, because singing and humming puts you in parasympathetic state, it calms down your nervous system. I think I just became proficient at it because it made me feel better when I
Mm-hmm.
was younger. So I just never thought of it as becoming what it has become. So now that I'm in this place where performance isn't necessarily what I'm thinking about or what my body or my heart is like gravitating towards, I'm just like, okay, I'm going to try and honor that because it seems like when I force stuff, that's when I feel real bad. So
Yeah.
I'm
There you
just
go.
writing and I took a really fun chance to take this trip with a nonprofit recently. They're called Sustain Music in Nature. During COVID, I was like, I don't even want to write. I thought I was going to be like, I'm going to come home from the road and write an album. And instead I was like, I don't want to, I'm so depressed. I don't care about anything. I'm just going to play video games for 6 hours a day. So that was which I think a lot of people have said that to me. They're like, oh yeah, I also came home with like, I'm gonna write my novel finally. And everyone's just like, I can't
Well, the pull of
function.
that is toxic hustle culture
Right?
and capitalism,
Right.
right? So say,
Yes.
yeah, fuck that. Play your video games. That's
Yeah.
great.
So I did. And I really leaned into it. I was like,
Good.
video games, smoke a little weed, lay in child's pose, microdose mushrooms, and just like weep. That's fine. This is what we
Oh,
were meant to do right now.
beautiful, beautiful.
So, so if I forgot even where I was going with that, but I guess the point is that if I feel called to perform sooner, then I
Mhm.
certainly will try and honor that.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to do right now is if it doesn't feel right, or if it feels like I'm doing it because I should or I'm supposed to, that's something I'm going to pause and ask myself if that's what I really want to do.
Yeah. Good.
And so
Good.
we'll see when I
Yeah.
start playing it live, but I got the opportunity because of this. I wasn't writing, and I had this wonderful opportunity to go work with the nonprofit Sustain Music in Nature,
Right.
and they invite artists into our public lands here in the United States, and they take the artist on a trip, sort of a guided like a vacation, I guess you could say. And then that artist uses the trip to be inspired by their location and how they feel where they are, and then write a song. And the entire
Mm.
trip is filmed. And then they put those two things together. And then the song that is written gets edited with the footage and it makes a music video, which is then shared so that people can be educated about their public lands that they're here
Love
for you
that.
to use. And
Wow.
then hopefully you're also inspired as a citizen to like help maintain them, fight for their public status, and also to remind you they're there to use them. And I
Yeah.
was invited to go on this excursion on the Green River in Colorado and Utah. And I was like, you know what? Yes, because one, I love being outside and in nature. And two, I haven't wanted to write at all. And this will be a reason why I must. And I can't imagine not being inspired. So that was something that I did in July. And it was amazing and beautiful. And I actually got 2 songs out of it. So I think
Wow.
sometimes if we just like follow the path, what we need will come to us.
There you go. Yeah, what a beautiful experience. That sounds
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
So last question I have for you, Beebe, is how does it, like, I know, like, when I'm like obviously I'm not a musician, but like when I'm putting something out into the world and it feels, I don't know, we put things we attach things to it. We think, oh, this is big. This is my first album, debut album,
Right.
all this
Right.
stuff. Like, how is that feeling in your body? Like, do you have any expectations? Like, what's your
Oh my God.
headspace around that?
It vacillates, right? It's like,
Yeah.
I'll go from this feels terrible to be putting this out here because I have such a hard time with comparison.
Mm,
I'm sure you can guess by all of the stories I've told you so far. That's just like, I want to live in a world where I'm like, I made it for me. And if other people like it, great. No, of course, I don't always feel that way. I'm like,
yeah.
where are all the people that tell me that they love my voice? Like, are they listening to this? Do they want it? Are they even following me wherever it is that I'm sharing this thing? And then
Yeah.
there are other times where I'm like, you know what? I made it. And like, that's enough that I
Mhm.
created it at all, that I like what I've created. So it really is like, I guess it's just another gift to look at, to say, okay, here's something where we can practice putting something out here that is really personal and is art, and that I have at least internalized a lot of nonsense about probably consumer success. And so if I am feeling like releasing music or sharing music is hard, it's probably because I'm looking at it from like the wrong gauge.
Yeah.
Like I'm probably
Yeah.
looking at it from the wrong way, because the feedback that I get most of the time is like the feedback that you're giving me, where someone just felt connected to it. Great. I mean, that's why I made it. So
Yeah.
when I get too caught up in like, who's heard it and how well is it doing and will the album be received and does anyone want to review it, it's like, well, then that doesn't feel good. But of course it doesn't feel good. Why would it? That's not
Right.
why I made it.
There you go. I love that. We went on a
Yeah.
journey there, and I
Yeah.
think that's you're right in sort of like those are the common
The
vacillating
metrics. Yeah.
Yeah, the
that's what I was-
metrics, right? It's like, yeah, I get that and I feel that, and I think a lot of people can relate to that for sure.
Mhm. Do you feel that way about making podcasts? Are you like,
So
do you have the same
well,
struggle?
I do. I definitely do. And, in May of last year, I launched the Feely Human Collective, which is kind of this collaborative mental health space. And I lead workshops for colleges about empathy and feelings and stuff. And I'm trying to do more projects. But I have a day job as well. So it's like,
Yeah.
and I'm not a mental health professional. So there's like the rub for me is like, I question, like, who are you? Why should people listen to you? That old sort of nugget of wisdom. But I
Mhm.
remind myself, and I think this goes for all of us, is like, we all have beautiful wisdom to share because we've lived lives, right?
Mhm.
And that's the gift we can give one each other. You can experience hard stuff and bright stuff and dark stuff, and you can pour it into music, and that music is shared with the world, and that person can connect and empathize, and like it's the gift we can give one another. It's the gift of vulnerability, right? And being
Yeah.
authentic to ourselves and showing up in the world as ourselves. So I sort of I have to remind myself of that, because I definitely get caught up in the like, you're just a silly boy, those thoughts.
Yeah. And I like to say that it might not be for everyone, and I try not to take that personally, because everyone's audience is out there, and I think the right audience for me will find me.
Absolutely.
And who knows when
100%.
they'll find me, but if they're meant to, they will.
There you go. I like that. Wonderful. So before we plug all of your wonderful things, Beebe, we wrap up the show talking about empathy heroes. So people in our lives, could even be characters from stories we love, or movies or television shows or whatever. People or organizations that are just deeply empathetic. I will go first to give you a moment to think about yours.
Great.
My empathy heroes this week are an organization called the Lilith Fund. If you go to lilithfund.org, it's LILITH fund.org. They are providing safe access to abortion, education, and abortions, period, within the state of Texas. Obviously, as of this recording, recently the Supreme Court sort of denied, sort of blocking Texas's just total assault on the human body. And it's horrifying to me. So go support Lilith Fund. They're doing tremendous work. Again, it's lilithfund.org. I'll make sure to include a link in the show notes for that.
Yeah.
How about you? Your empathy hero.
Snaps. An empathy hero that I have been trying to support as much as I can, and you can find her on Instagram, is the Black Fairy Godmother, and she does direct aid to mostly women in need, and so you can donate directly to her Venmo account. Her name is Simone Gordon, and she will get money to people that are literally facing like eviction currently, or I just need $100 to get groceries for my grandchildren, or I just need $50 to fill my gas tank, or I'm going to lose my job and then I'm going to lose my housing. And it just, for me, in a time that has been, it's hot, you start to get empathy fatigue and you're like, what can I do? Everything feels like it's falling apart, asterisk. It's been a way that I have been able to just feel like I've made a tiny bit of a difference in at least one person's existence.
Yeah.
So I would encourage people to check out her Instagram page.
Yes, I double that recommendation. Simone is wonderful. I've given a lot to her because, she's like championing and sort of like highlighting people in the worst sort of dire situations. And so, I will make sure to include her Instagram in the show notes for this episode, listeners. Okay, Beebe, where can the Feely humans out there connect with you? Obviously, listen to your music. I will try to release this episode right around the time your record launches. So share all the links and places.
The most broad way to get in touch with me is to go to my website, beebemusic.com, and that's my last name, Beebe music.com. From there are links to my Spotify, to my Instagram. I'm on TikTok if you guys are into that. It's terrible, but I'm really trying to just, quote unquote, do what I need to do to promote. So I'm on there singing duets with people. I'm just trying to do everything authentically and with as much joy as I can muster. So Beebe Music is probably the best place. On all social media, I am Beebe Jesus. That is my last name, Beebe, and Jesus, like the guy that was a great guy in history. And
biblical Jesus, not colonizer Jesus.
Correct. Biblical Jesus. the version that I would say is the
Yeah.
most empathic version of him. So, oh gosh, it's such an unfortunate handle, but here we are, and it's been too long. It was just an inside joke, but
I love it.
it works.
I love it. Yeah.
So that's probably the best place to find me.
Amazing. Well, listeners, those will be in the show notes for this episode at feelyhuman.co. Beebe, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your voice with the world and for getting feely with me.
Thank you so much. It was really nice to meet you, Nan.
Yeah, likewise. And to you listeners, as I always say, I'm here, you're here. We're here together on this wayward, overwhelming, awe-inspiring pale blue dot. We have each other. It's you, me, empathy.
Exhausted from these paper cuts, but I won't give up. Try to keep my head above waves that pull me down slowly as I bleed out.